No matter how large or how small the city is, we need to focus on the idea that sex trafficking, victimization of humans, knows no poverty line, it knows no bounds in terms of status, it doesn't care. You know, we live in this cute little state of Virginia, and people ask how it compares. You know, well, it's not as bad as New York. It's not as bad as San Diego. It's bad enough for me. And one case of sex trafficking should be enough for people to care.
You see, I'm a survivor of sex trafficking from the age of 13 to almost my 18th birthday.
I had this one friend that I would spend a lot of time with, and unfortunately, this friend came from a very abusive household, and they had a much older brother who was involved in drugs and gun violence. And the day came where we were victimized by her brother and his friends. They began to continually abuse us and then give us to, when I say give us, it's under threat and coercion, like you need to go with this friend or this person and do these things for them because we're telling you to.
I was taken from my home and my family, and I was forced to do things that no one should ever have to do.
One of the questions that I get is, why didn't you leave? We were children, and we did not have the developmental processes to, let alone process the trauma that happened to us and then have the wherewithal to feel like we would be safe enough to tell someone. And so we believed everything that they told us. When they said, we're going to murder you if you don't do what we tell you to do, we believed them.
I think, one, they're afraid because most of the time they work under a master and they pretty much have them in their control. So they're very, very fearful of what the repercussions to them could be.
So there was a girl that I once knew, and her name was Allison. The last time I saw Allison, we were locked in a closet together in a hotel room outside Charlottesville.
I remember the closet door opened and one of our traffickers grabbed her arm and she wouldn't let go of me, and she was just screaming, and they ripped her off of me, and the closet door closed and I heard a few thuds and then I heard a gunshot, and that was the last time that I ever saw Allison.
See, if you didn't comply with the rules, then you were not worth anything to them to keep you alive. And so they just decided that your life was worth taking.
I think that the average American believes that trafficking victims, survivors, are people who are standing on the corner.
Unfortunately, the crime of human trafficking can happen anywhere. It can happen in the homes that are in the very corner of Western Virginia. It can happen in the Richmond metro area, Hampton Roads in Northern Virginia. With the nature of communication today and the internet being what it is, this can really happen anywhere. There's no one agency that is uniquely equipped to tackle the human trafficking issue alone. So we come together, we play to each other's strengths and fill the gap on weaknesses in order to best serve the victims of this crime.
I got my first degree in EMS and paramedic studies, and then I got a criminal justice degree. Then I went to school for psychology, and I got my bachelor's degree, and then I got my master's degree in forensic psychology. A part of my advocacy and educational work is going to universities to speak about trafficking. And I get calls all the time from universities to go talk to those students. And my most recent project was to be on the Human Trafficking Prevention and Survivor Support Commission for the state of Virginia. The purpose of the commission was to come together and address three main points: education, survivor support, and law enforcement side of how can we come together and support survivors, create laws, and educate the community about trafficking. I was excited about the opportunity to have my voice as a survivor and, you know, the other survivors who were with us.
I actually went to Chesterfield County Jail and did a talk with another survivor. My name is Tanya Gould, and I'm Director of Anti-Human Trafficking for the Office of the Attorney General. Now, one girl, she did have a prostitution charge. The commission had survivors that were also a part of the commission in order to really give us good insight as to what survivors need. And that's how you walk away with real, tangible, long-lasting, beneficial reach into vulnerable populations specifically. When you think about it, survivors, being a survivor myself, we understand the thought that society sees us as criminals. And so to be able to bring that mindset to the table to say, well, we're not criminals, we're actually victims, and the process from understanding what it means to go from victim to survivorship. That's important for people who are leaders in a movement, who are creating legislation, who are doing programs. It's important for them to understand that journey and that process. They just know that what they did was wrong because they did it. I didn't have love and support and validation growing up as a child. It was all about surviving and trying to figure things out and, doing a lot of things on my own. So when someone comes into your life and realizes you didn't get those things, that's where they can, play on you to do things their way. 3 of them disclosed that they were trafficked as teenagers. I remember one time when I was with my trafficker and we were recruiting and I saw a really pretty girl. And, I'm like, oh my goodness, she's so beautiful. What about her? And he says, no, that wouldn't work. Look how confidently she's walking. Look at her walking with her head up and her back straight. And at the time I didn't get it, but I understand now the beauty that I saw was confidence, and it was worth, and it was value. She knew who she was. I didn't know who I was, right? And so that's what my trafficker took advantage of. Knowing my worth and my value and, all of those things, that is a deterrence when we're talking about prevention, human trafficking prevention.
I'm going to do what I have to do to survive and to continue to tell my story.
The public has a responsibility to know and understand what they're seeing around them, what is happening within their community so that they can support survivors, they can support victims, they can take action. They can also know when legislation is being passed and bills come up, what they need to support. So education is important so that we can change society's mind about what trafficking looks like to them.
Thank you for watching. Continue to follow Virginia News and Stories by subscribing to our VPM YouTube channel.